When I stepped away from social media for a while, the lingering sense of now what emerged, and before I knew what to do, there was this urge to pick up the phone again, scroll through, and see what's viral. Or worse, when I was in my head doing nothing, I would ask myself, what's going on out there? Why am I not informed enough or keeping up with the trends? After all, I'm in marketing. I should know these. And did I make a horrible mistake by not trying hard enough to be a content creator like everyone else out there on social media instead of here on YouTube? After all, social media is where you'll blow up faster. These days, we all want to be in that viral video. Get those views and notifications, doesn't matter what it's about, at least it gets you famous, attention, and money. Yes, to some extent, yes it does. And who wouldn't want that? However, there's a side of virality that's usually not addressed or discussed. And I'm not claiming I'm an expert on these, but I've observed these patterns when something went viral. About a week ago, for some strange reason, I suddenly thought about that viral animal, Moo Dheng, the pygmy hippo, when I was watching an animal documentary video on YouTube. Random thoughts, it happened. So for no apparent reason, I looked her up online, and voila, she's a grown hippo. Then it got me thinking, no one's talking about how grown up she is now. Like, this hippo was a superstar for some time. She went viral. She took the internet by storm, the entire world in fact. So that, like, even SNL was talking about it. And then fast forward now, she just disappeared from all media or discussions. And no one talks about her anymore as if she wasn't famous to begin with. This is one of the sides of going viral that most people don't usually talk about. The quick to rise and quick to fade. When we look back on all the stuff that took over everything online last year on social media, the memes, the strange dolls, food, art, and whatever was trending, they were great for a short while, but fast forward several months later, and if you ever brought it up randomly, as I did, you might realize, oh yeah, that was a thing, and then move on. You only remember that it was cool for a thing or two, and you definitely can't get the feeling back when it first went viral. It's like finding a receipt in an old jacket for something you have no memory of buying, because they have no depth in it. I think these days, stuff gets viral for strange reasons or not at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are good ones too that deserves it, like educational contents, Jordan Peterson, Sadhguru, ChatGPT, and there are others out there. But aside from those, sometimes some viral videos end up being viral for the wrong reasons, or just random because everyone wants to get a piece of it. I mean, why wouldn't we not want to have it? I admit, there are times I'd hope a video of mine could get viral. You get recognized, get the views, then the rest follows. This is because tools like social media have given us access to be in front of the camera and reach different audience faster online. It encourages this culture of trying to go viral because the barrier to becoming well known around the world is a lot more accessible, and it's now a lot more competitive to get that viral video. So now people are racing to see who can capture the most attention and get that viral video. Again, there's nothing wrong, except most of these never lasted, and in the online world, anything beyond a month or two is already considered dinosaurs' days. But when you look at other stuff that went quote-unquote viral back in the 70s or 80s, that somehow wasn't considered dinosaurs, but legends. Think about how people, including Gen Zs, were dancing to Michael Jackson songs when the biopic was out. Suddenly, he was the hype again. There are also franchises like Star Wars where people remember the originals and prequels fondly, but the sequels seems to just not exist. Like, I haven't heard anyone speak or discuss about the sequels, always the prequels, originals, and the TV series. European architectures included, and many more. The stuff I mentioned here was built for the long term, whereas what we get nowadays are snacks. As a result, you may have noticed how the world feels more stale than it was back in my father's days. I discussed this in a previous video, you can check it out. Like, it seems art was appreciated and welcomed in his days. I still remember classics that I used to watch or read when I was younger. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, I'm not sure. Now it's about how many followers you have. And believe me, these days when you see art that became viral, You can guess the pattern or formulas behind it. I'll take K-dramas, also China drama shows, as an example. I don't watch them, but my mom does. But as I hear her telling me the stories of the things she watched, I realize that the plots of these shows follow a pattern to the point that China had to regulate these shows because they were giving off unrealistic standards for women. Like, even authorities know how these stories are presented. And then fast forward decades later, I haven't heard anyone talking about the greatest K-dramas or Chinese drama shows they saw before, and they talked about the coming new ones instead. And this kind of also includes other reality shows that blew up on TikTok, but only to fade when they do shows such as D'Amelio's. The closest that we have to a show that people were able to talk about for decades is Game of Thrones, although it was marred by the terrible season 8. I get that brands also hop on trends and whatever is viral out there for awareness and catch the momentum of huge attentions while they're into that particular subject. But after that, it does not last long, and I want to show you some examples of content that have done this and then faded away. I'll give you an example that annoyed me the most when I first heard it. One was the Labubu era. I remember going on a vacation to Thailand, and when I mentioned the trip to my friend, she asked if I could buy her that doll, and she gave me the picture of the doll. I remember thinking to myself, why the heck is she into this? The doll wasn't even pretty. And the day when I was there to go look for that doll, turns out my other friend was asking the same thing, so that he could buy it for his daughter. That was when I went, okay, this is not normal because one, I know kids would want better looking dolls than that. When I got back home, I researched it, and that's when I learned about all this hype. In case you've forgotten, the quick summary is that the Blackpink K-pop star Lisa posted a photo on Instagram with that doll, and then people who followed her began to flock to the doll. Things spiraled into a rabbit hole of obsession when lifestyle influencers were also getting those dolls. And soon enough, the whole world started to want to become like Lisa, showing that doll on social media as luxurious, making them keychains for their bags, and buying them as a collection for just for show and not because they like them. Heck, the CEO got into Forbes because of this. But in less than 2 years, that obsession kind of faded away like a snap, and people just forgot about them. And then it turns out Pop Mart was losing the stock market, and the craze stopped too. So that's the cautionary tale of the Labubu doll. Another example was the pink sauce BS trend. I did not get this. I remember seeing them on TikTok during COVID, but I don't quite understand how it works. And thankfully, I've never tried this. Anyway, it got big in 2022 for some reasons. I think it's because it looks funny and it's something new, until people realized that this sauce doesn't seem to be consistent with its true form. So one video appeared sticky, the other one appeared dripping, and the color were not consistent pink. And when further analyzed, these pink sauce weren't FDA approved, and the creator thinks it's not needed. So by then, people lost trust in this sauce and it faded into oblivion. Of course, not everything has to be controversial or strange to go viral. There's also Squid Game, and in particular, the dalgona candy. Now, it's probably controversial when I say this since it's just an innocent candy, but I remember that thing was everywhere in shops. It's good that people did this actually, because when Squid Game was popular, people were shutting down businesses. But as time goes on and COVID becomes a memory, so does the candy. I live in Indonesia. I remember those candies were everywhere, and now it has disappeared from the surface of shops as if they had never existed in the first place. Because this food game was simple, get the shape right and done. And then people were promoting these things on social media like crazy during the show's hype too, to the point where we got sick of the repetitive content showing up in your feed thousands of times. And when the show was over, so did the trend of the candy. And lastly, the Gibhli Studio AI picture. Remember that too? I remember one day looking at my WhatsApp, some of the people I messaged with suddenly had their profile pictures changed into the Gibhli AI style. It was adorable at first. People were posting them online and social media, but as time goes by, people also realize that it's so quick to Ghiblify these things. The AI pictures look kind of stale and soulless too, and they were everywhere. So there was visual fatigue on this. And also, the line between art and AI was blurring. And there were many ethical debates on the use of AI for art. Even the creator of Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki himself, was appalled of the use of AI for art, that his comments went viral.
全然思いません。極めて何か生命に対する侮辱を感じます。
And so, after about 3 months less, that trend faded. All these mentions that I brought up are to show that virality will only go so far until it's snuffed out of existence very quickly. And if people continue to consume whatever short-form contents out there, chances are we'll have more art that will turn out stale, soulless, and not evergreen. Which begs the question, how do we make evergreen art? I'm not an expert on this, but as I look at art that has been able to last this long, there are several things that I find that made that art a lifelong legacy, and that people can still talk about it today, and talk about it fondly or consider them a legend. And for this case, I'll take J.R.R. Tolkien as an example, since he's branded as the father of fantasy, modern fantasy actually. The movie trilogy won 17 Oscars in total, and how we managed to create a total classic where even generations today like myself were intrigued to read them. And in a bookstore in Singapore, I saw one section all filled with Tolkien stuff, with different editions. It's crazy. Anyways, firstly, that franchise became a timeless classic since it's perhaps one of the books that defined modern fantasy ever written, and it was written with passion, patience, and no formula at all. Tolkien's main job was actually a college professor. Writing Lord of the Rings was just a hobby, stashed away until C.S. Lewis, his best friend and nicknamed Jack, read it and told him, "Bro, write it down." So becoming a writer wasn't his main job, but it was his hobby. Now, I won't tell you why the book is amazing, there are lots of reviews on that, but I'll discuss how Tolkien was able to come up with this idea. Just a note, these are my speculations, there's probably more to what Tolkien did. So it starts with his hobby for literature, myth, Catholicism, history, and many others. Take note that this was long before he wrote a word of the Middle-earth lore. Whether it's reading, researching, or writing, it was his passion to do those. And those skills and knowledge he gained from his passion became his knowledge to create Middle-earth. I also believe that the adversities and hardships he went through in life also shaped the foundation in his stories. For example, he had to go through obstacles to be able to marry his wife since her parents didn't really agree for him to marry her, which later on, she became an inspiration for his character, Luthien. Also, he was a war veteran in World War I, and as cool as it sounds, he fought in one of the deadliest battles, the Battle of the Somme in France. Sorry if I butchered the pronunciation. That war he went through must have been so harsh that he still remembered it decades later and wrote that scene for the story, like the part where Frodo was in the Dead Marsh. So, as you can see, if it weren't for the hardship he went through, I don't think he'd be able to come up with such complex stories. Another habit I found that helped shape his art was going outside and touching grass. He did not stay in a man cave and get cooped up in his room just to write. He went outside to the woods and parks. In a biography I read, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, it was said that they both loved to take a stroll and talk for hours on end, in forests, in parks. Of course, this became his inspiration for the worlds he made, such as the Shire, Rivendell, and many more. And because he went outside, he was able to socialize. Yes, talk to people. He mostly went to pubs and parks to meet with his friends and talk with them during strolls. I've mentioned this in my previous video, no matter how introverted we are, we need to talk to someone. This helped him find his own people who have similar hobbies to him to review his writings, though Jack was the only audience he ever let him read to. And it kept him away from isolation. And also, he took his time creating his work, being patient with his craft. No deadlines, no achievement aside. Oh, I made a chapter. Remember, Tolkien first wrote The Hobbit when he was 38, but it got published when he was 45, and The Lord of the Rings in his 60s, when the book was finally published. So as you can see here, he did not dwell on what's working or what the formula to success is for the books he wrote, though he did think his works and writings were dumb until Jack snapped him out of it. But even when he thought that his work wouldn't make it out there, he was writing it because he was passionate about his work, and he was willing to do it even if it wouldn't reach out there or make a penny. Not because of monetization or anything like that. It was pure passion and from the bottom of his heart. The closest thing you can get to a formula for this, or the takeaway of Tolkien's success, is actually passion, patience, and no idea of monetization. That's it. There are no secret ingredients. The difference is that you won't know if it's the right answer. It's either a total bust or a total win. And I think that's the beauty of facing the unknown. PewDiePie also gave this advice to people who wants to start YouTube, and that is to do it because you love it, so that if it's a bust, at least you enjoyed working on it, so you can't lose. And I believe he said it in here.
So my tip for anyone that wants to start making YouTube videos is the same boring reply that I've always gave, which is do it because you enjoy making it. Because if you enjoy making them, people will enjoy watching them. And if people don't watch them, then you're at least having fun making them. So you can't lose any.
You can name any other legends like the Beatles, Leonardo da Vinci, or even Alan Turing. If you look deep into their past before the breakthrough, you'll find that they have had a passion on something and curiosity to explore it since childhood that they did not grow out of. That is why doing something you love or your hobbies is so important to go further. Now, I don't want to sound like a doomer saying, oh, the best things happened when we weren't born. Sometimes I thought that too, but that's not entirely true. There's still hope for the future, and people like you and me are craving authentic longevity art and content. For example, if you've noticed on YouTube, the old school talking to the camera in your bedroom is back. In my feed, I'll find more videos where people talk in front of the camera suggested to me, and that's great. Also, the movie Backrooms, which did not have a big budget and is not a sequel or remake, made it to the box office, including the movie Obsession. From these successes, we can see that there's a craving from all of us, actually, for authentic longevity art. Not algorithmic contents, not AI generated, but art that is made with your passion. So yeah, I think that's kind of why I stuck to YouTube and avoided social media for now to unoptimize. I'm hoping to get clear thoughts when working on my own craft too. And I do it because I like it and not because some content said it's fun. Before I leave, if there's anything you can take away from this video, which is don't abandon what you love and like to do. I think doing what you truly like is how you're able to stay consistent in your craft. And you'll do your absolute best to make it the best too. If you're too attached to virality, which short-form content mostly promotes, then you're on a slippery slope. You'll fade. That also includes achievements, sadly. We have to learn to let go of what works for virality and concentrate on in-depth evergreen. And that's that. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like and subscribe. That way you'll be able to support the channel and also help people who are also having a similar situation as us. In other words, recruit to rebel, the algos. Anyways, until next time. See ya.